making your first augmented reality app. Um, the augmented reality app meaning what it means. Augment what it means is that you bring the digital world into the physical world through a marker like this. So the computer or the camera actually identified this icon, and then bring your digital data from your computer into this real object in life. So you can see for this lecture or this short sharing, I'm going to share with you some of my insight of what we think about the current AR market and the apps that we tried out for trying to make the augmented reality experience, and what works and what don't works, and my short sort of sharing with what we learned so far, and some of the software names that we should get to know if we want to do something with augmented reality. So the title is creating your first AR app through Vuforia, Vuforia, and Unity. So what you're going to learn today, or what you're going to see today, is I will be sharing with you some of the tips or the insight of the VR tools that are in the market, their problem, their pros and cons, and how some of the tools have the limitation, and why in the end my project that I've been doing, we choose not to use those tools that initially might be more easier to use. And the project leads is actually it's a real estate sort of experience. They want to make a video with AR experience of with the condominium right in front of the speaker. So like I'm speaking now, and then there's an object of the floor plan, or the 3D models that is rotating in front of them. So they want that kind of experience, and there's actually a lot of ways to do it, and they want their own company markers, and they wanted to have recording experience. I mean, the app actually allowed them to record hopefully about 30 frames per second kind of things. And then the software that we're going to touch on today, or the software that we actually open up in the next like sort of hands-on tutorial, is SU, SketchUp, Unity, Vuforia, and Android Studio. So those are the essential software that in the hands-on video that we're going to use. And then the X Recorder is actually an app that I use on my phone to record while we are doing the AR stuff. So we can actually use that videos for later editing. And then other is AirDroid. AirDroid is something that I use now to sort of sync my phone with my computer. So the first thing that we're going to share with you is this app called Qubity. Qubity is actually an online platform. So what happened, let's say you're doing your SketchUp model, they have this plugin especially for SketchUp user. At the press of the button, they ask you, after you register, you press on the button. With the plugin in SketchUp, they will automatically upload your model into the cloud. And in that cloud, right, actually as long as you use the app to scan on your table, your model will show in the virtual or the augmented world. So that's what they have promised. So the pros and cons, Qubity is actually one of the few apps that we find the rendering quality is quite good. Meaning, if you use SketchUp, right, SketchUp actually have good texture, although it looks a bit cartoonish, but what they give is a real enough texture. People knows that, oh, this wall, this is a brick. So SketchUp actually give you a quite good experience of that. Qubity is a rendered augmented reality, meaning that it actually go one step further than the SketchUp model. A lot of apps actually have there's actually a lot of apps that do AR these days, but some of the apps, the material quality is actually worse than SketchUp. So those we just look at the preview and we didn't try that at all. So Qubity was one of the render that we think that is quite nice. So we downloaded the Qubity apps, and then we paid for the I think the user free. The user free actually, how to say, it allows for a year, I think, and then it allows certain models and allow one device, that mean one phone, to do the augmented reality experience. meaning you are actually very restricted to your client. I mean, you cannot send your stuff to other people and they can experience it. No, you can only do that on your phone. So that is a very big restraint right there. And then the other problem was that the Android phone or the Qubity app and almost all the AR media, uh, this day, the newer media, they no longer use a marker. A marker meaning like an icon, like this is an icon, right? This is a logo. The camera pick up this thing. So like in 4 5 years time, last time it was like they have a marker and then when you move around and then the model was given there. But all the AR apps now actually doesn't use a marker. What you do is you use your camera to scan around a flat surface and then the flat surface will put your model there. So there are pros and cons with it. Like the pros, obviously, you don't need to print out your marker or you don't need a marker at all. So that is one good thing. But in our thing is like, let's say you want your newspaper to open up and then have a few AR experience of that. The flat surface doesn't work that way. So it just identified the flat surface, and we realized that this flat surface technology or the identification of flat surfaces is not stable, especially in the Android world. The Android actually have a shift away. The model actually shift away. So let's say this is the virtual model, and then when you're talking, the model actually move away. So it's actually not a very good experience. Then the other thing, Android have that problem, and then on the iOS device like your iPhone, iPad I heard was okay, but on the iPhone that we bought the iPhone and we tested out, the environment is much darker and the environment of the model. So actually, we call up Qubity and they told us that this is a thing that they cannot solve right now. So what happens is that the phone, when they capture, it's almost dark and then it's just the model at the middle that is bright. So that defeats the purpose of having augmented reality, right? And then yeah, it's not very accessible in China, so we have actually a lot of problem with our workers in China doing the model and unable to upload to Qubity, which would mean that they actually send back the model to me and or to our client directly, and then they upload on Qubity on own. So the workflow of like having the conveniency of uploading by a button doesn't work for us. So in the end, we didn't choose Qubity because of these few reasons. And then obviously the SketchUp app, which is the SketchUp viewer on iPad, have AR ability this day. So the render is not as good as Qubity, but the good thing obviously that all the SketchUp functionality, like you want to cut a section, you have to have different views. You can do that in the apps itself. That means that you don't actually, like in Qubity, let's say you want a section, you actually need to upload two models, and that may be very troublesome for a lot of people. But on this app, I think you can actually cut the section and then you rely that in the surface. Or maybe it seems that is a pro of the app lah. But once again, this app, the rendering quality is not as good, and it have the surface identification problem once again. So it doesn't identify a marker, so it identifies flat surface. So let's say you put it on a table, right? Your model have to be on the table, and then anywhere else you cannot actually see the model, or you can actually move the model with you, like you have a card, you can move it around. So it doesn't work that way, and the model keeps shifting away. This is worse than Qubity. It shifts away at a rate that is incredibly fast, and I think if you are doing augmented reality, you'll be quite disappointed. So because of that reason, we passed that. And then the third thing that we tried, that is about 5 years ago, that I have used this called AR Media, and then I just checked them out again. AR Media actually is very good application on SketchUp. So it's a plugin on SketchUp. And the good thing is that it have a marker, and you can sort of customize your marker. That means you use your company logo, you actually recognize the company logo, and that's quite fun. And you can actually have multiple models, meaning more than one marker. Let's say this marker is the house, and then this is the car, and then we just come up by its own. But this app is no longer in development. So for 5 years, their website, the Android system is the same. So we cannot use that, meaning we don't know we are almost certain that you cannot use that on the new phone. So on the new Android phone, actually that is not an option for us. So we didn't choose this software because of the years that it's no longer in development. So of a frustration, initially when we wanted to do this AR sort of experience, we thought we should use the existing like functionality where people develop, and then we just use that in our project. But after trying so many stuff, and like we really look around and stuff like that, we realized that AR is not really into our life yet. I mean, there's not much apps that actually consider the usability from the client point of view. We actually paid for the app, and then it seems that it's actually quite far from being a very easy to use product. And then out of frustration, we thought that why, come on, maybe we just create our own app, and hence we have this video. So actually this video, I was looking through YouTube and I found this guy. His channel is called Playful Technology, and out of this 15-minute video, he actually managed to show how someone can develop the very simple AR application on your Android, and on Android only, because iOS, actually I'm on a Windows, and you want to develop iOS app, you actually need to have a virtual iOS system, and that is way too much for time to do that lah. But out of his video, actually we learned that it's actually a very simple process. From SketchUp, you did your model, you export to FBX OBJ into Unity, which is a game engine environment. A game engine environment is basically a place, a virtual space where you can play or do stuff that is related to the game, like gravity, water, lighting, sunlight. You can move your object around, build a car, shoot a bullet, right? Which is very difficult on SketchUp. And in Unity, there's this plugin that's from the third party. It's called Virtualia. Virtualia is actually a VR AR platform where you upload your marker, I mean your company logo or something that you wanted to, your digital stuff like this thing, or your own company logo that you can upload it, and then it's linked inside Unity through a certain script. So what it does is that it is actually a camera called AR camera in Unity, and if you have tried Unity before, actually they have cameras and view. So you have an object and a camera. A camera is basically when you use the AR camera in Virtualia, is actually the camera in your phone, at your phone. So what happens is that when you export your scene out from Unity as APK, which is the Android application, it actually allows the scene to coming through from your phone. That's why when you use this marker which you have identified, it actually realizes this marker and thinks that this is a digital model, and hence anchor that model onto that piece of paper that you have. And last but not least, you have Android Studio, which is just a export option. That means you actually need Android Studio to do any sort of Android SDK kind of thing. Meaning to export APK, you actually need Android Studio. So that's the exporting part of it. So it's a must-have development environment that you have to have. So those are the four main tools that you need to use in this tutorial. So a bit of overview of the context before we go into hands-on tutorial. So this is the SketchUp environment. The SketchUp environment, basically your model. You build your model with your texture and stuff, and then you export to OBJ. OBJ actually comes with texture folder. So you can see from your SketchUp model, you actually have texture and you have shapes. But in OBJ, they actually don't have texture. So when you export OBJ or DAE, which is a file format, or 3ds or FBX. Those are actually a lot of file formats that are suitable for like other softwares, like in this case Unity, when you want to export out from SketchUp. It actually have two folders, which is very important. You must put into the access of the Unity. So exporting this into OBJ, you will find that you have a folder with the name of your SketchUp file and a OBJ and a MTL, which is a material references file. So with this file, you just put into the Unity access, and you can have the material in Unity just as you have it in SketchUp. So that's for exporting in SketchUp. Modeling, we're not going to touch on this tutorial. I'm not going to talk about those, but basically those will be what normal architect or normal designer should know. Oh. So the next thing you have is actually Unity, which is this development. So this is actually what you see after you import the model into Unity. So after the SketchUp you import into Unity, that's what you have. Yeah. And then in this environment, what you're going to do is you're going to import your Vario apps, which is the AR media apps, into this platform, and then identify the icon with the model. A game environment is because like it have objects that is interactive. In this case, we have an AR camera and an image, which is a marker that references this object. So you can see that this object, from here there is a game object, which is this, and under the game object there is this marker, which actually sort of identified this object at the folding of this digital object. So that's how the Unity looks like. And then once you have Unity set up, you export, and then that is the virtually that you need to set up, which is this one here, Vario engine. So that's about all that I'm going to talk about, as in the apps and the stuff that you need to learn. Thanks, and we keep in touch in the hands-on tutorial.